So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the moon. We've talked a lot about how the moon rules this age of 0 to 1 when we're in a helpless child, infant type state. And, you know, the moon is a helpless planet, and we don't want to think of the moon as that because that really belittles the importance of it. So I wanted to start this class with a description from Parashara about the moon. So it's described as, abounding in Vakta and Kapha, and filled with knowing is the moon of round body, auspiciously eyed, of sweet speech, fluctuating and lovesick. So the most important thing here is that the moon is filled with knowing. That tells us a lot, you know. So how can something be filled with knowing be helpless? So it's helpless in a worldly way, in a way of being able to do things that are required for survival. But it's still, the moon is where our all-knowing is. It's really our intuitive link to everything. Remember, the moon exalts Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, one of the Brahmins. The moon is exalted in the sign of Venus, the other Brahmin. So you see, the two planets that are knowing things, the Brahmins, are actually related via exaltation to the moon. So obviously the moon has a great importance. It's not like this little helpless thing we're trying to keep alive for until it can take care of itself. It comes in with this capacity to know. Okay? And it says filled with knowing. It's filled with knowing, which means everything that's true is accessible to the child mind moon. The problem is, as the child mind moon looks around, on this plane, on this earth where it's born, it decides what's true is what it's experiencing, what it's seeing, what it's witnessing. So, in your moon, and everyone's moon, is the potential to know everything that's true about yourself and other people. However, that knowingness has been conditioned based on your early life experiences. And it's by removing that conditioning that we start recognizing the truth, the reality of things. So we see something truthful growing up, and we're conditioned to think this is true. Okay? We see something that doesn't work growing up, and it's still what's normal, what's used to. It's still true in the context that this happens. And then we embrace this as a truth and expect it to continue to happen. But it's not a truth in the good sense of the word, in the Jupiter or Venus sense of the word. Okay? And that's really where the secret to healing comes, is recognizing that this all-knowing moon, this child mind, which is tortured and traumatized and trying to fulfill its needs in ways that don't work sometimes, underneath all that, it has this all-knowing ability. And so once it starts, but its truth is limited to what its senses have told it at any given moment. So, once we get involved in life and we use our adult plans to put ourselves in circumstances, situations, then the other truths of the all-knowing moon start becoming believable truths, actual truths that the person is living their lives on. Okay? So it's not that the moon needs to be changed or anything needs to be put into the moon. It just needs to experience things that allow the real truths, the healthy truths, to emerge and become the beliefs that they're following. Okay? Because the all-knowingness is there, and then it has these experiences, and it says the truth is, this is how life works on earth. I have to be mean, selfish, pushy, aggressive, or I'm going to die. That's the truth their early environment told them. And yes, that's a truth. There's a lot of animal species that have to be that way to survive. Humans grow in real situations where they have to be that way to survive. But that's not the real truth of being human. Of being a happy, healthy human surrounded by other healthy humans, right? So recognize that all we need to do with our adult minds is get ourselves into the right environments where the truth, the healthy truths, can be experienced. And that we use our adult mind to affirm the healthy truths even without experiencing them. So everyone hates you, and you go affirm, I am lovable, I am kind, I am loving, others love me. Even though no one in the world even will answer your call, you can still change your consciousness of the moon. And once that truth is believed, that's the truth that we start experiencing. That's how affirmations work. We use our adult mind to bring out the all-knowingness of the moon. And when the moon goes, aha, I got it, I know it, that's when things change on the outside. That's when our lives change. Okay? So the moon, this child mind which is so helpless, also has all the force of what's really going to happen in our lives. Okay? It has a round body. Well, yes, but so do all the other planets. And sometimes the moon is not round. But it has a round body means that the moon is like a ball. You roll it, and anything it hits redirects it. The sun has a square body. You roll it, it goes plop and stays. You roll it, it hits something, it keeps rolling on its axis. The moon has infinite axes. So any small pebble it hits redirects the ball. This is how the moon works. It's in a constant state of responding. Okay? So, this child mind is born and it's looking out in the world and it's responding. And it's responding with saying, yes, this is true. Okay? And what's happening in the environment is showing us that the truth in this world, and this real world that you live in and have to stay alive in, is that you have to be this way or being this way. So everything that's happening around the child is being absorbed in this context, that this is the truth of the world that you live in. In another world, it could be completely different, but that world has nothing to do with the survival of the living being, which is also where the moon is. The moon holds the living being. The idea within us is I'm a living being, that I exist, is in the moon. And that thing wants to exist. And it's going to follow the rules dictated to it, that it observes and notices and feels. Okay? That's why as the moon looks around and stars planet, as we looked at in our last video, or 2 videos ago, it's basically saying, in this world, this is the truth that I have to use to survive. It's noticing that through observation. Okay? In this video, I'm talking about the connective aspects of the moon. So when the moon is creating a connective self based on what it's influencing. So the moon delights Jupiter, Mars, and the sun, the self planets. Okay? If it aspects or join them, they get delighted. Now what's happening here is the moon is saying, I need something, and I'm going to focus on this planet to get my need met. It focuses on the self planet. The self develops, and needs get met. That works. When the moon thinks, I need my needs met, and focuses on non-self planets, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn, it gets disappointed, it gets stuck, it gets limited. In all cases, the person will say, in my life, my needs don't get met. And they'll feel like, and other people might even say, yeah, you're doing everything that you could possibly be doing. What's wrong? You must have bad karma. No, there's something missing. You're not following the rule that self first. Love yourself and then love your neighbor, right? As yourself. Don't get loved by your neighbor and then love yourself. I wish, right? No, I don't, because my neighbors aren't really that friendly. No, just joking. But you never know. If you're in a tough neighborhood, you don't want that to be true. So the fact that love yourself and then love your neighbor as yourself, that's how it works. So by focusing on the self planets first, all the external planets come around. Okay? So when the moon is aspecting or with any of these 3 planets, it shows that in that early environment of the first year, the consciousness was observing that people are getting their needs met when they're being like this, in the way that is healthy. People are taking care of themselves, being reliant for themselves, not being pushy and aggressive and expecting other people to do things for them. The parents aren't yelling, but you didn't love me, or you this, or you that, or you that, or it's your turn to take care of the baby. They're not getting all this conflictual human relationship stuff. They're seeing people who are taking care of what they need to take care of, whatever it is, the Jupiter, the Venus, or the Mars planet. And they're seeing, the child's observing that that person is feeling good, is getting attention, is getting affection, is getting connection. Because when we take responsibility for ourselves, through these 3 planets that the moon can possibly delight, we get that from other people. It makes it possible for people to care about us. When we try to get our needs met based on the moon influencing Mercury, Saturn, or Venus, we create situations and ways of being where it's impossible for people to actually love us. If they do love us, they'll eventually get worn out because they won't be able to survive loving us. Okay? And maybe we won't even let them in. Maybe we'll want someone who's not loving us to love us instead, like a moon Saturn might do. Okay? So, these other ways always make it either right away or at some point impossible for another person to connect with us. That's why moon-starving Mercury, Venus, or Saturn is going to end up with a less connective mind. It's going to be a less connective person. So let's say the moon is starving Mercury, and the person goes, oh, I need love. And they find the first person, they're complaining about him the whole way. He's not right, I don't like this, I wish he was like this, but, it's my only chance for love, so I'm going to marry him. And they get married, but they're grumpy because he's not this, he's not that, he's not that. He's not going to feel loved. She starts getting resentful because he's not this, he's not this. So she starts closing off to love. Nothing's working. If you start with something that's limited, you're not going to be happy, and neither will be the thing. Okay? So in all cases, you're going to end up with a lot of disappointment going that route. But still, if that's the experience that you observed, then the conscious was taught, the truth is, in this world, this is how life works. Yeah, it sucks. No one seems happy, but this is how it works. You won't die doing this. You stay alive, which is the moon's goal. Okay? And not only that, these are the people around you. So you better behave like they do, otherwise there's no hope of connection, right? And maybe sometimes you'll do the evil, cruel things to other people together and feel really close, but when there's no one else to pick on, you'll probably be picking on each other, It's like you get really badly raised families, and the siblings will be fighting, hating each other, kill each other over the inheritance, but when some other person from outside the family messes with your little brother, you go kill him. And then you go beat your little brother up. It's like, really? So that's the mentality it creates. There's always, as long as 2 people have a conflict on the same side, living wrongly, they can be happy. But when they don't have anyone to live wrongly against, they'll start living wrongly towards each other. Okay? But that might be someone's real truth of how life works. And so they'll do their best to fit in. That's shown by the moon-starving planets. Okay? Now we're talking about the good ones, though. Okay? So finally something good. And what's nice about this, the moon will delight as many planets as he will starve. Possibly up to 3. So the first one is moon delighting Mars. So now, the moon is saying, I have a need. And Mars is saying, yeah, and my job is to take care of your needs. I'm here to take care of you, help you provide, help you fight, help you crawl, help you scream, help you ask, help you demand, help you continue asking until you get what you need when you really need it. Okay? I'm here to help you fight for your needs. Because the truth is, in this world, if nobody hears the crying baby, there's a million other forest fires to put out that they will hear, and the baby might die. So in this world, the truth is, we have to let people know when we need help. People aren't mind readers. We're not going to have a hive mentality. Okay? So, when it comes to expressing our needs and being strong in our needs, that's what the moon delighting Mars is saying. It's like, I need something, and it has to be seen. Mars rules the fire element, which gives vision, sight. What do you see the easiest? Fire. Right? You notice fire. That's why we see lights, and we see lights from far away, right? So, this fiery Mars, the moon says, okay, time to fire up because I need something here. And that's essentially what moon delighting Mars. It's just like, let's just fire up the signal that I need something. Now that signal varies depending on what age we are. When we're 1 year old, that signal is screaming, is crying, you know? Or fidgeting, just the beginning of fidgeting. Now there's a signal of fire, energy starting to course through the body that lets somebody know, mom know, that, oh, baby's in need. Next step is crying. Next step is screaming like a banshee, right? These are all steps of increasing fire to get what we need, okay? In a healthy adult, the first need is, shown as a request. When somebody asks, do you need anything? It's a request. If that doesn't happen, if they're with unobservant people, ideally you're with observant partner and your partner goes, what's wrong? I see something. And you'll go, oh yeah, there is, thank you. Or, yeah, but I don't want to talk about it. And they'll respect either one. Some partners will ask, and when you're like, oh, I don't even know what to talk about now, and then they push, and that's not healthy either. Because then the need is, I have something going on, but I don't know what it is yet. I still need some time with myself to figure it out. That could be a need, okay? So maybe we have an observant person around us, maybe we don't. So first step is, if we do, they'll notice before we're really usually ready to voice it. That can be really nice, okay? But second step is, nobody noticed, but we have a need. So now we have to go communicate. We have to go make a request. I need this in order to be okay. I need this so that my life can work. Okay. Second step is, or that's the second step. Third step is, that wasn't really heard. Okay. So at that point, a person has to be more adamant. And that might take the place of righteous anger. And that's righteous anger. That's allowable. Okay. But often, as each step progresses, it gets harder and harder to stay balanced. Now, if Moon's lighting Mars, the person's able to maintain that balance. If Mars has got afflictions to it, Mercury or Saturn, then every one of these steps becomes more likely to have an immature response, a response that doesn't work to get their needs met. Okay? But here we're hoping that those aren't there and we just have this nice Moon delighted by Mars. So the next step is going to be able to be righteously angry about this and say, no, this isn't permissible, this isn't acceptable to me. You know, but not in a conflictual, you're screwed up, I hate you kind of way, or I never want to see you away, but in a way, nope, this isn't permissible, okay? So each step is a more fiery step, whether we're an infant or we're an adult, okay? And we may need to take ever-increasing steps. Why? Well, if the baby's fidgeting, but mom has something else going on, has, dinner on the stove, or is driving, then the fidgets of the baby are not the most critical thing in that moment, right? We don't want to fire in the kitchen. We don't want to crash the car. Whatever, okay? So the fidgeting of the baby might not be noticed in respect to the fact that someone focuses on driving safely, or somebody's trying not to burn the kitchen down or burn food, okay? So now the fidgeting of the baby is simply not noticed because of other stresses in the person's life. So now the baby starts crying more. All right, now there's a better chance that the parent will hear, even amongst the emergencies, the stresses they're dealing with. So we need to have this escalation pattern to reach a person depending on what level of stress they're under. Okay? If a person's in severe stress over something, they're going to have to hear a really loud scream maybe before they realize, oh, somebody needs me. Somebody needs something, right? If a person's relaxed, cool, calm, there's no fires going on, everything's smooth and relaxed, then all it takes is a little fidget. And it's the same in our adult lives. So this is why Mars has to progress one step at a time. The Moon, Mars, is good at this. It's good at, Moon is changeable, right? So it's looking at Mars, say, let's change the way we show our need. Okay? Let's do it this way. Okay, that didn't get their attention. Let's do it this way. Let's get their attention. And every need's a little louder. Turn up the volume, Increase the fire until the sound is greater than the sounds disturbing the person that they have to deal with. Okay? That's all normal, that's all healthy. So, The moon delighting Mars helps make us more connective because it allows us to healthily show our needs in casual situations and also in high stress situations when things are going wrong. All right? And then what happens is the person ends up taking care of themselves emotionally, because on an emotional level, the moon is lovesick. It needs. Okay? It needs others. It needs others to connect to. By moon delighting Mars, a person is able to get the attention they need. Okay? In a healthy way. This is normal. We live in a world full of stress where people could be having all kinds of emergencies, all kinds of pressures. So we can't expect someone just to know and just to be there for us every moment of the day just because they're Mr. and Mrs. your last name, okay? That's not realistic. Because we live in a state of emergency in this world, we have to be able to voice our needs in a healthy way, okay? Unfortunately. And recognizing that that's how it works is important. The person with the moon delighting Mars has observed this. They recognize this is the truth of how life works. And if that they are this way, that they recognize they do need to ask for help, then they'll do better. They'll be more connective. They'll ask in a way that allows another person to connect them. In the case of a starved Mars, which we'll get to later, if a person will ask for things in a way where at that point no one even wants to be around them or no one can connect to them anymore, and then their needs don't get met. So this is the healthy, natural progression. It can lead to being very strong, very righteous, but it's always done in a healthy way that doesn't devalue the other person. Okay? And and see, Mars is our associates. Mars is our teammates. Anyone we need anything from becomes our Mars. Mars is the mother in her caretaking role. So anyone we need something from, we need help from or assistance from, that person becomes Mars. When the moon's delighting Mars, we can get those people. We know how to get those people to help us out. We know how to get our siblings and our friends and our co-workers to give us the hand with the things we need a hand with. Okay? Bad Mars struggles with this. Starved Mars struggles with this. Why? Because their environment didn't show them that that's a truth, that life can work this way. All right? But now we know it does. Astrology has shown us that this is how things can actually work on this planet. Now sometimes you'll get a problematical child, mind, moon, or even a Mars, and the person will actually get hurt that you didn't notice something. Oh, you didn't notice that I cut my hair. Well, first of all, it's a quarter inch shorter, and second of all, I got this emergency at work, or you didn't notice I knew this or I knew that, or you didn't notice that the plate of cookies I left on the counter for you. It's like, yeah, right now I'm going crazy with stress, so no, I didn't notice any of those things. That's normal, sometimes not to notice things when someone's under pressure. But a person with hurt child factors can actually be hurt by that. Be hurt by the fact that you didn't notice something because of the stress. That's not how life works. We notice the biggest fire. We notice the loudest thing. We notice the brightest object. Okay? So, when a person's under a lot of stress and somebody else wants to be noticed, they might have to light themselves on fire. Just getting their hair cut, just getting a new pair of earrings, just leaving some flowers next to, in someone's bathroom might not be noticed because the person's under a lot of stress. The moon Mars understands that. It understands that people not noticing right away does not mean they're not loved. It understands that just means that I haven't shown them in a louder way than the trouble that they're in, than the stress that they're under. And then it'll find another way. Oh, you didn't notice the flowers in the bathroom I left for you. So what they do, they take one flower out and they leave a path of flower petals from the person's desk to the thing. And then now they see, now we're having fun, right? Now we're making love fun. And later that night they'll say, oh, it's so funny, I didn't even notice the flowers. I went to the bathroom 3 times and I was so stressed and so worried. I didn't even know the flowers, even though they were right there. But then, all of a sudden, I'm like focusing on work and I'm at a spot where I'm like, damn, I don't know what to do. And I see this petal. And I start following the petal and I end up in the bathroom and I realize, wow, I got the greatest spouse ever and fuck this job, doesn't even matter, I'm so in love. And they can laugh about this, And it could even become a good memory where they say, well, remember the rose petals? Oh yeah, the rose petals. Okay, I can chill out, drop my stats for a minute, remember that you're in my life, This can become, this is what healthy relationships are capable of. And a moon Mars can create this because it's aware that just because someone doesn't notice a need doesn't mean they don't care or don't love. It just means that they have to bring up the volume because the person's getting inundated under volume. Okay? Now, one person might get inundated under volumes that are actual, meaning they got real shit going on in their life. Okay? That have to be dealt with. Another person might just be in such a state of conflict and inner turmoil that they regularly walk around not being aware of anyone else around them or what anyone's doing. That person needs to heal. The other person, stress is a normal part of life. Okay? And the moon Mars will understand that stress is a normal part of life. Them not being able to pay attention to me now is not personal. It's the fact that life on Earth sucks. We live in a world with more malefic planets than benefic planets. And things are hard. And so they won't end up disconnecting the way a starved moon might, or a starved Mars might, that gets frustrated or feels hurt in the case of the moon that, oh, they don't love me, that's why they didn't notice my new whatever. Didn't notice what I did for them. Didn't notice that I came home from work early, cleaned the kitchen, and now, for them so they can have an easier day. And they didn't even notice, And it's a nice thing. Sometimes, if I have a little minute, I will maybe go clean the kitchen. It's really stressful sometimes when life is busy. Kids are here to trash the kitchen. They cook great, but they cook barbarian chefs, food's on the ceiling most of the time. And it's hard to keep up. And if I have a little time, I go clean the kitchen. It's appreciated. If Trish has a little time and gets and slips into the kitchen when I'm busy, it's appreciated. Those are nice little things that teammates do for each other. Oh, I got the ball because you're over in left field getting your ass kicked. I can catch the ball that you're supposed to catch, or that I usually catch. That's the moon Mars thing. That's working well with your teammates, whoever they may be. And your marriage partner, your relationship partner, your significant other is a major teammate. Mars is a huge aspect of how well your relationship will get along. I was saying Navamsha is the 9th Varga. Venus, the planet of marriage, is the key planet there. And marriage is about the Navamsha. But the Navamsha is founded in the number 3. 3 squared is 9. So the foundation of the Navamsha is the number 3. And Mars is the number 3 planet, right? Rules the 3rd day of the week. So much of a foundation of relationship has to do with Mars and being able to work as teammates. Okay, and that means giving hands, saying, signaling, throw the ball, signaling, I need this. That's all part of it. Okay, there's so much to Mars. It's every planet. Think of how complex we are as individuals, as people, right? I mean, modern psychology has been going on since the late 1800s, and we still don't even know what we're doing, right? After 120 years of great minds. Yoga science has been going on for years. That even people who study yoga science are like, wow, what the hell? We're very complex beings. We don't just have 7 little aspects, 7 planets, 7 little things. Each planet is a whole world of human behavior. So anytime you start looking deeply into a planet, every time you look into a planet, you'll see more and more depth and layers to that planet. And Mars is such an important planet. And so it's a wonderful asset to have it delighted. It's going to help your relationships with all your teammates. Anytime you do anything with anyone, whether it's 5 minutes or 50 years, the time you're doing it with them, they're your teammate. So if you have a delighted Mars, things are going to go a lot better in your life in general. Every day of your life, it'll go better. Okay. So that's the benefit of a moon Mars. And again, it was observed, this truth was realized from the inner self because this truth was observed to be truthful in this world that child was born in during their first year of life. So the truths of the world we're born in are the truths that we let come out of that all-knowingness of the moon based on what the child mind moon is experiencing in that first year. Pretty scary, huh? This set your programs for the rest of your life until you wake up and your adult planets go, wait a minute, time to reprogram, okay? Time to rethink all this. Then we have moon delighting sun. We talked about this a little bit already. When it's conjunct, the sun agitates and delights the moon too. We talked about that. In aspect, the moon only delights the sun, and the sun will delight the moon to the degree it aspects. Okay? So it's nicer when it's with an aspect. So now the consciousness says, to get my needs met, I have to find out who I am, be what I am, and build a life around who I really am. That's what will get my needs met. I need to follow my inspirations, and I'll meet all the people that I'm meant to connect to. That's the moon delighting sun. Okay? It's real simple. It's very, very truthful. All the time we see people doing things to themselves in this way or that way to make themselves more connective. Okay? They will act differently. They will talk differently. They will dress differently. They will go to places that they aren't even them, looking for the right connection. If you dress differently, look differently than you really are, then you're creating false signals to people. You're saying, I'm something that I'm not. And then the people who come to connect to you won't be what you can possibly connect to. The moon sun says, all right, I'm going to connect based on what I am. I will get my needs met. I will connect because I'm being myself. That's the foundation of connecting. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to end up failing connecting with the wrong people that you would never design to connect with. Okay? Really simple, but if you've observed it, you're going to behave that way in your adult life. If you didn't observe it, and you're not feeling a lack of connection, realize that by recognizing that connection comes from living as yourself, you can start that habit. You might have a good sun. You might have a Mars-delighted or Jupiter-delighted sun. And you might be spending a lot of time living as yourself. But then let's say your moon is starving Mercury and not delighting the sun. So the moon's going, oh, I need this, and instead of shopping, I'm just going to take the first model I fall into, even though I don't even like it. Instead of saying that, remember, the truth is that doesn't work. Stop that bad habit. That's not truthful. Tell yourself, affirm it. That's not how it works. I'm shopping. This is the first model. There's 3.5 billion models, maybe 7 if I'm wondering about my gender still. And I can keep shopping until I find the model that has the seat that I can slip right into and be at home in. Okay? Affirm that. You need to tell yourself that. But then also, if you don't have the moon delighting sun, say, and start with self. By being myself, I'll go through those 7 billion people much faster and find the right one than if I'm pretending to be something I'm not. Okay? I see this a lot. I see people put on something to make them think, make themselves feel like they can be more connected. Okay, in their daily life, and then they meet someone, and this someone sees them and gets to know them really, really briefly, and the minute we see a person, we're formulating ideas about who they are. And we start thinking, this is what this person must be like, based on stereotypes. And then they follow through, treat that person in respect to that stereotype, and at the end of the day they find out that person's not like that at all, and there is no relationship. It's over before it started because the person approached this person in a way that had nothing to do with who they really were. But anyone from the outside would say, yeah, I would have done the same thing with that man or woman. Because that's what they looked like. That's what they seemed to be like. So putting out false appearances doesn't help you. Okay? It only wastes time. So even if you don't have this moon delighting sun, you have everything within your all-knowing consciousness. Moon delighting sun just means that in the world you're growing up in the first year, the truth was that you saw people who were being themselves getting connected. And when you were being yourself as a baby, you got connected. So you recognize this is a truth that works in the world. But if you don't have that in your chart, it's still a truth that works in this world. The truths of the Avastas are true in every circumstance, in every situation, for everybody. But you just didn't learn that truth as a believable thing. So it's time to affirm it and live in accordance with it and watch your life change. So a lot of the therapy is simply living good Avastas, even if you don't have them, because that's how life works. Okay? In the case of Moon Mars, the child, saw people make requests to get attention, to get their needs met. But the child also experienced when they asked for attention, need was met. When they squirmed, when they screamed, when they cried, when they screamed, when they started pounding on the crib walls, when they stuck their heads through the crib bars and got stuck, that all these things help people come, okay? And that this works. It works to ask for attention when needed, okay? So that's all that's happening with this moon influencing all these planets, okay? And you can adopt those strategies as create an affirmation out of them. Just make up an affirmation with these principles, okay? By being myself, I meet my love. By being myself, I connect to life, I connect to people, I connect to God. You can create these affirmations that are true based on how astrology shows us that life really works. We don't want to limit astrology to your static horoscope and say, you're screwed, We want to recognize that astrology is a working philosophy. It is the most working philosophy of all. It's better than any philosophy that anyone else has come up with. Because astrology is the script of God. This is how God is saying, this is how the world works. And therapists come and gurus come, they say, this is how life works. Well, that's not right from the horse's mouth. That's from somebody who maybe talks to God. But that's different than God saying, let me write it in my language, which is astrology. So we can have implicit trust in the truths of astrology, of how life really works. Okay. Finally, we have Moon delighting Jupiter. Moon Jupiter is a wonderful combination. Even Moon on an angle from Jupiter is called Gajjakasara Yoga. Okay, it's a nice combination. It helps us find fulfillment. Moon Jupiter stuff. So Moon with Jupiter, we talked about. Moon delighting Jupiter with it or aspecting it. A person is going to recognize that by being what's good in me, I will have connection. It's really that simple. Jupiter's what's good in you. Okay? Jupiter's not perfection. Okay? There's nothing perfect about Jupiter. Jupiter is simply, there's something good in you. Okay? What is it? It's for you to discover. It's for you to live. We're all here to live a good life. There's a way we can live life. There's something in us that's good. That living that makes our life fulfilled and allows for connection. Okay? The moon delighting Jupiter knows this. By being good, we get connected. Now, good does not mean being good and following the parental mind. Good does not mean being perfect. Those things are dead ends. Good means there's something good in me that is good. People want me because of this good thing. I'm retarded, I'm ugly, but people come to me because when they ask me questions, the right answer just pops into my head. And I'm like a friggin' celebrity, you know, because there's one good thing. Every person has just one good thing when it really comes down to it. And that's all they have to do. You can, in my opinion, you can screw everything else in your life up. But if you find the one good thing in you, your life is success. Now, the modern world does not tolerate this way of thinking. Thanks to democracy. Because democracy loves finding the one thing someone's bad about and using that to deface everything they're good about. It's the very opposite of this. That's why I can't stand democracy. If someone's a great war general and has to have sex with every Asian girl he meets, I don't care. As long as he wakes up the next morning and can strategically think and do the good thing that he's capable of. That's all that matters. Who cares about these things that have nothing to do with the good thing? We all have things where we fail on. We're always going to have things we fail on. A person with a moon delighting Jupiter, they're accepting where a person fails. And they welcome the good that anyone can bring into their lives. Because that's the truth. No one's perfect. Everyone has failings. Everyone has a scarred child mind. But everyone has something that's good. That makes, it's their gold. What makes them golden? That's what we need to appreciate people for. That's what people are going to appreciate us for. The moon Jupiter lets us know this. That people are going to appreciate me for what is beautiful in me, what's good in me. So I don't have to stress out about all my problems. I don't have to pretend to be perfect. I don't have to sweep everything under the rug that might get me in trouble. They can stand up for themselves, be honest, be truthful, in the knowingness that the good thing in them will carry them through. Okay? Because that's all that can carry us through, is the good thing in us. It's not like the bad things go away when we sweep them under the rug and hide them, right? It's not the things that we can't do, that we suck at, that we fail at, where we screw up, that are going to get us through life or keep us from getting through life. It's the good thing in us. It's the Jupiter. Jupiter's the heaviest planet. All the other planets move the way they move, mostly because of Jupiter. Jupiter has the ability to make all the other planets not ruin your life if he's doing it. So yeah, there will be people trying to tear you down if you're in a competitive place where they can besmirch you and where people are dumb and don't have moon Jupiters and won't understand this. But a moon person with a moon Jupiter is going to vote based on what you are doing that matters, not on some problem you have that's completely unrelated. Not that your fifth, sixth cousin was a Satanist. Who cares if your distant cousin's a Satanist? But all of a sudden now no one wants to vote for you, you know? So, moon Jupiter makes us open to connection by being open to what's good in a person. It makes us open to being connected too, because we're seeing what's good in us. And so we can see why someone might want to connect to that. The least connected people are the people who are trying to be perfect. As soon as I'm perfect, someone will want to connect to me. Well, good luck, you're never going to be connected, because you're never going to be perfect. But Jupiter, moon Jupiter knows it doesn't take that much. Find the one good vein of gold in your core, and everything else can be toxic, waste, radioactive, and that one gold will outweigh all of it. The same way that Jupiter is heavier than all the other planets combined. Not including the Sun, of course, okay? But Jupiter, it's heavier than Venus, Mars, etc., all combined, okay? It has more mass. It's going to dictate what happens. So we need to understand that it's the good thing in us that dictates our lives in the end. The moon Jupiter understands that. It's seen forgiveness. It's seen dad come home feeling horrible about something that happened and mom saying, "You're a good man, I love you." That it didn't matter that dad screwed up with whatever, you know? And that mom made a mistake, and dad didn't yell at her and say, "Why did I marry a dumb woman like you?" You know? He was like, "It's okay, I love you because of this. I love you because of where you're beautiful. I love you because you're beautiful in this. I love you because you always do this." It lets us see that it's the beautiful, good thing that's going to make our life work and make a life worth living. And so a person will look for that in the others and themselves and recognize that's what people are coming to connect to. The best thing. No one's coming to connect for your shit, so don't dump your shit on them. Give them your best part. Focus on your best part. A Moon Jupiter person does that. They're focusing on their best part. They're optimistic. They have faith in life because they're seeing their best part. A Moon Saturn person's negative. They're pessimistic. Why? Because they're looking at their poop in the toilet all day. They're looking at their worst part. We all have a worst part. What matters is what you look at every day. The Moon Jupiter sees its good part in itself. As a result, it looks and sees the good parts in others. And it's a very connective combination. That's why of all these, Moon Jupiter is the only one that gets a special yoga. Well, Moon Mars too. Moon Jupiter is Gajikasara Yoga. Okay? And that's when Moon's with Jupiter, or really when Jupiter's on an angle from the Moon even. But for our case, we're just going to look at the aspect value or the conjunction and see how much Moon is influencing Jupiter. And if so, this is the truth you've learned. Now in this world, this broken world of lack and struggle, that gold vein inside of you, all you have to do, that's what's going to get you through. That's what's going to keep you alive, keep you connected. The rest is irrelevant compared to that gold vein. I mean, think of the trouble people go through for gold. In the 1800s, people came from China, indentured themselves to come from China in the hopes of working off their passage and then going and finding gold. Go through all that trouble to find a little gold. That's how much people are willing to go through to get gold. So if you find your gold vein and you find the good thing that you are, and this is not something you have, it's not Venus, it's something you are. People will come and ask you for it, even if you're difficult, corny, strange, eccentric, and they'll still want to deal with all your quirks because you've got the gold. Okay? And all the trouble, you're going to be worth it. And then there's going to be some person who shows up and goes, wow, you inspire me because of this and I want to marry you. And you're like, but I'm the strangest fellow on earth. And they're like, you're the love of my life. And it won't make any sense. That's all it takes. That's how much power gold has. Jupiter is gold amongst the planets. It even is gold in color. So, Moon Jupiter helps a person understand this truth. Now, of course, there might be other planets influencing your Jupiter that make you up and down with this. But this is the truth you want to affirm, even if you don't have the Moon Jupiter. If I find my goodness, my joy, people want to be around joy. They want to be around something that's beautiful, joyful, expansive, all these Jupiter qualities. If you find the thing that makes you joyful, if you find what's gold inside of you, what makes your life worth living, if you find your purpose on earth with this Jupiter, you've got the gold you need to navigate with all your bad planets right through life. That's why they say a strong Jupiter in angle overcomes a million ills, you know? A strong Venus on angles will overcome thousands, you know? Strong Mercury on angles, hundreds, okay? Jupiter's the heavy player. A nice Jupiter makes a big difference, okay? All right, so keep that in mind as you look at charts. And again, if you don't have it, you have it. You just didn't learn it. Your chart only shows what you learned. The moon is all-knowing. It doesn't just know what's in your chart, okay? It's all-knowing. But what's in your chart is what is experienced as truth in this world. Well, tell it the other truths were possible and watch it experience those other truths in this same world. And yes, that will mean getting away from certain people who don't support that truth. How? By shooting them. No, not by shooting them. By watching them just go poof, magically disappearing out of your space somehow. Now, if your problem's caused by Mars, the magic might take a little gunpowder. Okay? Might take some righteous anger. And when you grow and you give a person who's showing you that the wrong truths are the reality, that no matter what you do, you're worthless, no matter what you do, you're not worth love. If you're around a person who demonstrates that truth that you grew up with, then yeah, it might take righteous anger to say, no, this isn't acceptable. And then in a huff and a puff, they'll go poof, okay? They'll always go poof one way or the other, though. All right? But if it's a Mars-related problem, yeah, righteous anger is going to fire up that poof of that person. People will disappear, and people, for you Moon Mercury people, to remember, and people will show up who fit your new paradigm. All right? Okay, thank you.